and welcome to Palindrome ASMR. Today, I got a present, a belated Christmas present that is probably the most perfect for ASMR item in existence. Well, if you like the clicky, clacky kind of ASMR, I don't know. I think it sounds quite nice. It's called a Fidget cube, and it's for fidgeting with. I wish it was a little bit quieter so that people wouldn't get annoyed by the noises, but it's got a doohickey, some dongles, a thingamabob, some mashers, a clicky thingy, and a spinny thingamabob. I tried hard to come up with a good name for each one of these sides. The doohickey, the clicky thingy, the spinny, the dongle, the thingamabobs, I don't know, what do you call these? Why do they look like a 5? Is that the best you could do? Why make it look like a 5? Why make it look like a 5? You know, 5 is special in that, oh gosh, now I'm not so sure about what I was about to say, but 5 is the largest group of objects that humans can grasp intuitively without counting. After that, you have to split them into groups before you can intuitively count them, unless you are an autistic savant. If you are an autistic savant, you can, well, a certain kind of autistic savant, you can count large numbers instantly. Lately, I've been thinking about the Riemann hypothesis. If you don't know what the Riemann hypothesis is, which is probably a lot of you, it is one of the great unsolved problems in mathematics, and was first proposed by von Riemann. I don't know his first name, just his von Riemann. And von Riemann was probably one of the greatest mathematicians of all time. Calculus is based on Riemann sums. It's just the limit as n approaches infinity, x approaches infinity, or n, I forget which, of the Riemann sum of the rectangles underneath the curve. You know what? This isn't a calculus class. I mean, I know my calculus up to a degree, and I understand it pretty intuitively now that I it took me a while to get calculus, and the higher levels of calculus, and it goes really high, I still don't get, but once I get a mathematical concept, I get it, and I don't need to. I can explain it. Like concepts that were once really tricky for me to understand, once I grasp them intuitively, it becomes like something I've known for my entire life. So, the Riemann hypothesis has resisted proving for 150 years. And I'm going to say this right now, I do not intend to, everyone who approaches the Riemann hypothesis hopes that they'll be the one to solve it, but I just think it's an interesting hypothesis because it's worth $1 million. And of course, the difficulty is $1 million of difficulty. But I was just thinking about it because my dream that is never going to be realized, probably, is to become a mathematician and work in pure math and come up with cool, new, very esoteric, I want to be the kind of mathematician who comes up with a theorem that is so obtuse and so out there in pure math that maybe only 10 people in the entire world would be able to understand its consequences. That's the kind of mathematician I want to be. I want to work with manifolds and combinatorics and number theory and God, I'm naming so many fields at once. That's like saying I want to be a neurosurgeon and a urologist and a heart surgeon and a anesthesiologist. The fields of math are as diverse and as different from each other and require different training that it's like someone who works in combinatorics speaks a completely different language than someone who works in topography. But the problem is I don't suck at math. It just takes me a while to get it. So, this is the story of my math life. I took Calculus 2 in college and learning about integrals and such. And I got a 43% on the first test. And I dropped out of the class because I got the worst grade in the entire class, even though I did all my homework and I spent hours doing my homework. I didn't study, which is probably why I got such a bad grade. I just did my homework. You can't just meet the bar in a math class. You have to go above and beyond, and there's just something inside of me that keeps me from getting that. But the second time around, in the second class, I got a 93% on the first test, and it was covering the same material. So I can get it if I have enough time, but I can get it if it clicks with me, and then I really get it. And then I probably get it better than anyone else gets it, or at least the majority of the population gets it. I mean, once I get it, I can see it everywhere. I can apply it. I can imagine it in my head and like realize once I get it, it becomes a part of my being. But it takes me a while to get it. And, you know, I want to be a mathematician. Like, I don't know. But I just don't have enough raw willpower to properly study mathematics. And it's because it's a psychological thing. It's like I have a fear of getting good at math. I don't know what that was. There's just, oh man, something that just turned on. Oh well, I'm gonna ignore it because I want to continue making a video and continue talking about my hopes and aspirations, which were dashed. I really enjoy math. What I don't enjoy about math is the fact that one small mistake, one missed negative, or one little flub will ruin your day. Although teachers do grade you based on your work. That's why you show your work, so that teachers can grade you and say, all right, well, you forgot a negative here, so I'm only going to take off 1 point. But I just can't handle the way math is taught in school. That's not my way of learning. I learn through a much more organic process. If there was a video game that taught higher level mathematics somehow through its systems, I would be a mathematical genius. But there is no video game that teaches higher level math like calculus and differential equations through video games. And I have tried Khan Academy, but one of the things that I realize about math is that you need repetition to truly understand it. You need time and you need repetition. This happened for me with chemistry. When I was in 10th grade, I took an honors chemistry class, and this teacher assigned a ton of homework. And being the studious student that I am, I always finish my homework. I don't ever not do my homework unless I forget. And so I would do all of this homework, and I would continually write down do the equations, the chemical equations, and I would just continually do them over and over again. And even though I got like B's on the test, it made me good at chemistry. The fact that I had so much homework made me good at chemistry, and so I was always a good performer in my college chemistry classes. Like my psyche always puts in the minimum amount of effort needed to survive. And in the mathematical world, that is not enough. You need to put in extra effort. And I just can't. I can't put in that extra effort. I've tried. I always do my homework. No matter how much homework there is, I always do it. But when it comes to self-reflected study, self-directed study, sorry, I can't do it. No. When it comes to self-directed study for a class, I can't do it. But if it's for something I'm interested in, I will learn all about it. And I will think about it, and I don't know. I just really want to become a mathematician. I want to understand these awesome concepts. And the Riemann hypothesis was just, it's kind of fun to think about solutions to the Riemann hypothesis. It's been entertaining mathematicians for 150 years. And my unique approach that is very weird to approach the Riemann hypothesis this way is by turning 1 over 0 into an imaginary number. Like I. I is an imaginary number. You can't have the square root of -1. But 1 divided by 0 is a much trickier beast. There is a good reason why dividing by 0 is bad in math. There is very good reason. But it's my idea that this 1 divided by 0 can act like a demolition charge. So, like, if you divide by 0 in anywhere in an equation, the entire equation just explodes. But what were to happen if you were to take 1 divided by 0, localize it, and only explode certain parts of the equation? This is a simplification of the actual process. I call it 1 divided by 0's reductive property. It reduces everything down to, it basically breaks everything. But if you can localize the 1 divided by 0 and treat it like, if you can contain it with a box, if you can imagine a box around 1 divided by 0, then you could use it in equations. And I'm still figuring out the properties of this 1 divided by 0. And it has some very interesting properties. But if you imagine that it is its own number, you can use it for, like, you can place demolition charges inside of an equation and then explode them. But because you're doing this in a controlled manner, you can come out with interesting results. And yeah, that's like a simplification, but not too much of a simplification, really. I'm not nearly advanced enough in mathematics to really utilize this idea, and I could be completely wrong. I realize how heretical trying to divide by 0 is, and I realize that there is good reason why it is heretical, but the whole point of my argument is to imagine that away, is to imagine it away. Imagine it away. And, yeah, that's just my idea. And I think it's my far-fetched idea that you could shed new light on the Riemann hypothesis, which has to deal with complex roots of a infinitely repeating zeta function, like really complex roots of a really complicated zeta function that I barely understand myself. But I do not understand anything about it. I look at the equation and it's like it's like how does that work? And so I probably don't have the credentials to even think about attempting to apply anything to the Riemann hypothesis. It's just, I get a kick out of understanding it. That's all. And it really is $1 million problem. If someone comes up with a proof for the Riemann hypothesis, which states that all non-trivial zeros of Riemann's zeta function will happen at a complex number with 1/2 as the real part and some integer I as the imaginary part. So all complex roots of the zeta function happen on the line of 1/2 on the imaginary plane. So, and there's so much about it that I do not understand. But it's fun to think. It's fun to poke at it. Like I said, I want to be a mathematician, but I can't because I'm not a good enough student. That's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the clickiness of the Slack toy, the Fidget cube. I definitely enjoy playing with it. If you have any questions that you want answered, or if you have any topics you want me to cover, just say it in the comments below and I'll address them and give you a shout out. Thank you for watching. You're amazing for watching this far. I hope you will stick with me for my journey through the ether of YouTube, and I will catch you on the other side.